We've all seen the classic horror movies and heard the creepypastas regarding strange things that homeowners have allegedly found in basements. However, those are all just stories, and the following reports are all 100% true. Here are 5 terrifying things found in the basements of homes. Number 5. In the early 2000s, a homeowner found that the foundation of her home was in need of repair. She phoned a repairman who came out and began the work. However, after just a few hours of digging, the worker made a shocking discovery. He found a human skeleton. According to the original story, the Wisconsin Historical Society later confirmed that what had been unearthed was a skull that belonged to a male who had been buried around 1840. In fact, the remains were of a small child, who was later exhumed from the location, and it was discovered that the area was the community's first documented cemetery. According to the organization, the cemetery had been sold and relocated many years ago. Helen had been living in the home for over 20 years, but she had never come across the skull. The findings meant that Helen's renovation had to come to a stop until the investigation was complete. Helen had to spend the next 15 months working around laws that prevented disturbances of burial sites. Number 4. A young man had recently moved into his newly purchased home when he made a chilling discovery in his basement: a trap door. Behind a handmade door, the homeowner found numerous items that were both surprising and disturbing. The man named Jerry stated that he had purchased the home because of its extremely low price. He said that for the size, the price was incredible and couldn't be better for a starter home. While moving in, Jerry entered the basement to find that the previous owner had left quite a bit of junk, though none of this piqued his interest as much as the long sheet of plyboard that he found covering up a hole in the wall. Jerry ripped the plyboard from its location and revealed what seemed to be a makeshift apocalypse bunker. He found numerous guns, stacks upon stacks of ammunition, and a massive locked safe. Jerry continued to loot the room and only continued to find more and more weaponry, as well as ammunition and schematics of putting a gun together, eventually even finding a grenade. As he kept looking, he found that one of the military crates was full to the top with pennies. Jerry then attempted to pry open the safe that he found with numerous hand tools, but was unable to do so. He says that he plans to call a locksmith, but at the time of writing this script, he's yet to reveal the contents. Number 3. In February of 2012, a property owner commissioned a group of renovators to help rebuild a property that he owned. The owner had heard rumors that his property was known as an illegal abortion clinic from the 1950s, though there had never been any tangible evidence to support these claims. Though during the renovation, that quickly changed when 2 of the workers found a couple of jars that contained human fetuses. According to the owner, known as Mr. Neff, his parents purchased the property in the 50s from a group of doctors who were known to, quote, help the ladies. Neff states that since purchasing the property, his father used it as a chiropractic clinic for many years before it was passed down to him. Neff also states that he recalls hearing about strange jars that his parents had found in the basement when he was a child, though it was so long ago that he only has vague memory, and says that his parents refused to discuss it with him. Neff reported the finding to the police, and a local coroner gave the 2 unborn children a proper burial, though police say that they have no plans to proceed any further as the previous owners had already passed away. Number 2. Between 2002 and 2013, 3 young women were kidnapped by Ariel Castro and held captive in the basement of his home in Cleveland, Ohio. He kept the women there where he tormented and raped them for over a decade. In 2002, Castro offered 20-year-old Michelle Knight a ride home. Michelle knew one of Castro's daughters and accepted his proposal. However, he didn't take her home. Instead, he drove her to his house where he captured her and brutally beat her. Michelle would be Castro's captive for the next 11 years. In 2003, Castro offered a ride to another girl named Amanda Berry, who was 16 at the time. He offered to drive her home from her job at a local burger restaurant. Much like Michelle, Amanda knew Castro's children and got in with him. She was then also kidnapped, assaulted, and held captive. Castro repeated this scenario once again in 2014 with a 14-year-old girl named Gina De Jesus, who was also a close friend of his daughter. Castro kept the women chained in his basement for many years before ultimately moving them to an upstairs bedroom. Amanda became pregnant soon after this, but this was something that had actually happened numerous times previously, though Castro would typically starve and beat her until she miscarried. though this time he allowed her pregnancy to come to term, forcing her to eventually give birth inside of a plastic swimming pool. While keeping the women in his home, Castro actually held a fairly normal life. Family members would still even come to visit him, though he locked them from both the basements and the upstairs bedrooms. He continued to work as a school bus driver until November of 2012 and played bass guitar in his free time with local bands. Castro even attended ceremonies for Gina de Jesus where he met with her family and offered his condolences. Though Castro's plan took a turn when in May of 2013, Amanda managed to escape from Castro's house. She then fled to a neighbor's house with her child to phone the police. They then returned to the home to release the other women and arrested Castro the same day. He was offered a plea deal later that year which spared him the death penalty. He then pled guilty to over 900 accounts of rape and murder due to Amanda's miscarriages. Castro was then sentenced to life in prison with an additional 1,000 years without the possibility of parole. His house has since been boarded up and his basement will forever remain nothing more than a haunting memory to these 3 victims. Number 1. In February of 2017, police discovered 2 bodies in the basement of a Boston home after being flagged down by a woman asking for help. The woman told police that she believed some sort of crime had been committed in the house, though police refused to release any further details of her statement. Police entered the home and found a couple that had been shot dead, their bodies wrapped in rugs and plastic then stored in the basement. They also say that there were dismembered body parts found around the scene, but refused to elaborate until an autopsy had been performed. According to investigators, the scene was, quote, quite messy, and canine units were brought in to assist. After concluding their initial investigation, police arrested a man, Michael Hebb, and charged him with 2 counts of first-degree murder, though police believe that there's still an accomplice on the run. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.